This is an iPad 3 screen replacement guide. The first thing I do is put some single-sided tape across the front of the broken screen. This takes a little bit of time, but it is worth it because it stops shards of glass going everywhere on your desk, on your floor, and potentially cutting your hands. So it takes some wide single-sided tape. This is quite easy to do, quite simple and cheap. So I've just speeded the film up a bit so it just goes through this a bit more quickly, so you can see exactly how much tape I use and where I use it before we move on to the next stage. The next stage is to heat up the screen. So I use a heat gun. You can use a hairdryer, but this is a normal heat gun. I put it on the lowest setting, and you need to start on one side of the iPad. Start on with the home button, and with its position on the screen, you can see it to the right, and just heat up one side of it, one half of the screen. Now you can do all of it, but it does take a while to do, so you need to keep coming back and heating up various parts of the screen. But just heat it up so you can just about touch it. That's my measure of how hot you need to get it. Keep testing and touching it. If you can still touch it, then that's about the right heat for getting the adhesive off. So this is just using on the lowest setting on a heat gun, and do this for a few minutes till you get the right temperature. Once you've heated the screen up, you need to remove the screen. I use an isosmo tool. I've actually speeded this up a bit because it takes quite a long time. It took me about 20 minutes to do this all in all, but I start just to the right hand corner to the right of the home button and work my way around the edge with an isosmo tool. This is a great little tool which you can get off the internet for about £6, and you work your way around, just working the edges, and so you're just beneath the black bezel. Now some people work between the bezel and the screen. Others recommend that you work your tool between the frame and the black bezel, the plastic bit which the screen sits upon. So the advantage of taking the black bezel off, going under the black bezel, it generally keeps it intact, so you can obviously reuse that. That's a very cheap piece of equipment, spare part to buy, but just work your way around, and I use some of the free plastic plectrums which you get with some of the kits, repair kits, and that's either to slide around if you've got delicate parts, like in the top right hand corner as you can see on the screen now, where there's the volume buttons, and then just insert the plectrums in to make sure you've got the screen doesn't re-glue itself to the frame, and just gently work your way around, but be aware the area immediate to the right of the home button, when it's on the bottom, that's where the Wi-Fi antenna is, so you need to be a little careful. So if it cools off a bit, just add a little bit more heat, and this will keep the glue warm and make it loosen up more easily. But just keep working around and inserting the isosmo tool or your device underneath the screen, and work your way around and insert, when appropriate, insert some other plectrums. You can see I've got some on the top left hand corner there, and those will keep the work you have done, keep the screen raised up. Now it does take a little time, especially when you've got a broken screen, so just be very patient. Try not to dig down at an angle into the underneath the screen, because there are delicate parts where the blue plectrum is right now on the screen on the shot. That's where there are various components and the camera, and especially on a 3G version, so just be very careful with the screen, and placing your iSesamo tool or opening tool at an angle. Just keep it flat and horizontal to the screen, and you'll just slide it underneath and loosen the glass, the screen off underneath the glass. So just keep working around, insert the plectrums, and just be patient. It does take a bit of time. So as you see, there are bits of glass underneath the tape there, so this one comes a bit tricky, so bits of glass peel off. You're going to get this with some broken screens, and you just have to be patient and remove the bits of glass when you can, and just be careful that you don't cut yourselves on them, because it can be quite sharp. So you can see I'm just gradually working my way around. I'm giving a bit of a twist now, just to separate a bit, but you can see I'm only doing that with the plastic plectrums so it doesn't damage any parts underneath. And to keep working around and keep moving it around and applying a bit of heat, so working anti-clockwise from the home button to make sure you can loosen the screen off as easily as possible. So this is really is quite a slow process. This is the longest part, the part that takes the most time off, taking an iPad 3 screen off. You can see, just gently move it around, try and get the that iSesamo tool underneath the black bezel, and but without damaging the frame. So just keep working your way around and loosen it up, and twist and move, twist and loosen, remove bits of glass if you have to. Now you can see here I'm just gradually lifting up with my fingers now. This is on the 3G version. You can see there's the 3G components are just beneath my fingers there, and that will just be careful of those because they're a bit delicate, but just try and keep moving along and separating the glass from the frame by using your plectrums. So it does take a bit of time, but just keep patient, keep doing it slowly, and take your time so you can understand exactly where all the components are underneath the glass, and so you don't damage anything. So to continue on from where I left on the last section, you just see me gradually working my way around. Be very careful. The main area to be careful around is the to the right of the home button. If it's on the bottom, if it's on the bottom or on the side to the right, because that's where the Wi-Fi antenna is, and you need to be very careful when you're removing that, because it's stuck to the underside of the screen, and it's very easy to rip the Wi-Fi antenna off. So be very careful. So at this point you can see I'm splitting it apart, starting to make some headway. You can start to use my fingers to sort of pry the screen apart, and use the iSesamo tool to just detach some of the glue, and just keep gradually working around, making sure the screen is detached in all places. But again, be very careful around the home button to the right of that if it's on the bottom, because that's where the Wi-Fi antenna is, and it's very easy to slice that off and damage it. So just be very careful with that particular component. Right, we're getting to the final stages of removing the screen. I'm picking around the edges using my iSesamo tool, and gradually peeling apart the screen from components it's touching. For example, here you've got the 3G connectors which are stuck to the underside of the screen. I've speeded the film up a bit because this does look a bit hard, but it's just done at twice speed, so it's a little bit quicker. You don't have to sit through the whole thing, but you're just going to gradually have to work your way around, separating the screen from components underneath, gently and carefully. You can see I've peeled it away there now on one side, and the opposite end to the home button, and you can just gradually work your way around, and some bits are going to be a bit stuck down more firmly than others. At the bottom right hand corner here you can see it's quite firmly stuck down, even though you put some heat on it. So you're just going to have to pick away with the iSesamo tool or whichever tool you're using, and just gradually remove bits of glass and remove the bond between the screen and the frame. So just be patient. It does take some time, and just be careful of that glass. So once you've got to the point where you've lifted up completely, you're going to move turn the screen over to the left hand side. So there's a cable in the bottom left hand corner which connects the digitizer, the screen, to the motherboard. So you just turn it over to the left hand side when you get to that point, which is coming up soon. So just pick away, and very soon you'll be able to lift it up and turn it over to the left hand side. You can see the plastic bezel there, which is the black plastic bezel, which you're going to reuse later. So gradually just turn it over. You can see in the bottom left hand corner there's a cable, and that'll be something obviously we're going to remove in a minute. But the next stage is to work to lift up the LCD. So there are 4 screws which hold it down onto the frame. You start wherever you want, but start in the bottom right hand corner. Just remove the screws, put them to one side in somewhere safe and secure so you don't lose them. You need a small Phillips screwdriver to do this, and just take those out and put them to one side. So once you've done that, you're going to use a spudger, a plastic spudger or something non-metallic, to lift up the LCD. And what I do is I normally put a cloth on the opposite side to where the LCD is going to turn. So you're going to have to lift it up and turn it over to the same side where you've just moved the digitizer, the touch screen. So get a spudger and put it underneath one of the sections where you took the screw out from, and lift it up and turn it over to the left hand side. Try not to touch the LCD because you end up having to spend time cleaning it, and then turn it over and place it gently down on the cloth so it doesn't get scratched. You can see underneath there the cables for the LCD and the digitizer. Okay, this is quite a quick job. You're just going to need to remove from the old screen the camera holder mount, which you just slide underneath with your isosmer, having heated up a bit if necessary, and then use a Phillips screwdriver, small Phillips screwdriver, to undo the 2 screws on the back, which then will enable you to remove the bracket holding the home button down onto the lower part of the frame. Once you've done that, there's the 2 feet under which you need to slide your isosmo tool and peel that away so you can remove the bottom part of the bracket. Put that carefully to one side, and then quite simply remove the home button, which you need to reuse on the other new screen. What we're going to do now is put some double-sided adhesive tape onto the track onto which fits the bezel, whether it be a black or white one, the plastic bezel which we took off earlier. Now I'm using some double-sided adhesive tape. You can buy this off Amazon or eBay quite cheaply, and just a small pair of scissors, and then you just cut it so it's roughly in the length of the tracks on the outside, and then swivel it around and put it on each side. Some areas you might need to trim off where there are little gaps around the home button or the camera at the top, but this is quite a quick, easy job to do. I've actually speeded this up, so again, as you can probably see, but basically you need 4 pieces of 1mm double-sided adhesive tape, and just trim those off to the edge, off the edges and the corners, and then once you've done that, press it home so it fits neatly into the track, so you can then get a close fit when you put the bezel back on at a later stage of the process. Then it's quite easy, but as I say, I'm just trimming some little bits off in the middle around the camera and the home buttons, just so that it doesn't get in the way, but just trim it off so it fits perfectly, so otherwise your screen won't fit quite as easily. It's quite an easy thing to do. Again, you can get these double-sided 1mm double-sided tape off eBay or Amazon, for example, and as I say, just trim it down to the right size there, and then you'll be ready to put the bezel on once this job is done. I always make sure that I use, for example, a pair of tweezers there to press home the adhesive into the corners and into the areas so it actually fits nicely, because otherwise you tend to have an uneven screen, an uneven surface when you put the screen back on later on. So just press it home and make sure you put it into the right place, so you get a nice clean fit when you put the screen on, which will happen fairly shortly. Right, now we need to put back the camera holding mount back onto the new screen. So using a bit of double-sided adhesive, I use slightly thicker adhesive, put a small square of it on the back of the mount, and then peel off the backing, and literally then put it back in the right way up onto the screen. So just get that paper off the double-sided adhesive, and you'll see you put the bigger hole sits at the bottom, and then there's the larger hole where the sensors see through at the top. So you've got the large hole at the bottom, large part of the camera mount at the bottom, and then just press it home firmly, making sure it's square and lined up, and then that's a quick, easy job for you to do. The next job is to put the home button back onto the new screen. It's a little fiddly sometimes, but the main thing is to make sure that the square on the home button, the printed square, is lined up so it's not looking off center, and you need to fiddle around with this a little bit because it does look a bit poor if your home button is not quite square on the new screen. So put it in, place it down, and stick the plastic down with your fingers as much as you can, and then take the adhesives which should have come with your new screen, and you'll see in the center there are two small pads which will go on the back of the home button. So just peel off one of them. I use a pair of tweezers, it's quite easy to handle it then. They'll just be torn apart slightly. Get the back of the plate which will stick to the new back of the new screen, and put the right shape adhesive onto the the correct foot of the pad of the base. Get the second one and do exactly the same. Get it nicely squared up so there's nothing overhanging, and then make sure they're firmly onto the plate. And then what you'll need to do then is peel the backing off the adhesives. Now some of the adhesives have a brown paper on them. This one happens to have a clear plastic on them. So just take that backing off both of them, and then stick it onto the new screen. So you can see it's a little fiddly getting the adhesive off, but just peel it off. Repeat it on the other side. And then take it down, place it the right way up so the wider part of the bracket is on the bottom, and then square it, make sure it's squared up and nicely lined up above the home button. You don't want it slightly off center because your home button won't work properly if you do that. Press it home, then get the bracket which sits on top of the one you've just stuck down, put it into place. I've got one screw in place, but then just take your screwdriver and put that screw that firmly into place. And then once you've done that, get the remaining screw and put it on. I use a pair of tweezers because it's just a little bit more accurate, and screw it into place. And that's another simple job done. We're now going to attach the new screen. So I've put it down on the left hand side on a piece of bubble wrap to protect the screen, and you'll see on the back of the cable for the new digitizer there are some stickers covered over the bits of plastic to stop them sticking too soon. So just peel those off, and then take the cable and line it up back to the two slots about halfway down the left hand side of the iPad. You'll be able to slide it in, and if your new digitizer, the cable should have two white lines on it which indicate how far you need to push the cable in. So just gently push it in, gently work it into the slots. Make sure the catches are lifted up so that on the connected to the board, and then just gently press them in. I use a pair of tweezers there, but you can use a spudger to just gently press the cable into the connector to the motherboard. So once you've done that, just press it down and stick the glue to the main frame, and then you'll need to make sure that those white lines are in correctly, and then use a spudger or tweezer, a set of tweezers, to just push the catches down to lock the cable the digitizer cable into place. And once you've done that, you need to line up the cable along the bottom of the frame, and so the sticker, which is the bottom end of the cable there, sticks firmly into the frame. So just take a bit of time using a spudger and make sure that the cable sticks properly down onto the back of the frame, so that's all nice, parallel, flat and square. So it can be a little fiddly, but it doesn't take too long, and just make sure that's all square and in place, ready for you to put the LCD on, which is the next stage. So I also put a piece of covering on the top new screen to protect it when I put the LCD on, to protect the LCD as well. I'm now going to put the LCD onto the iPad. So place it on the left hand side on a piece of bubble wrap or some other protective material, and then take the cable and make sure the connector latch on the on the right hand side on the motherboard connector is up, and then gently slide the cable into the connector. So press it home very gently and then lock it in place with the connector latch. Now there's a piece of plastic tape which we took off earlier on. I've stuck mine onto the cable so I knew where it was. I'm just going to peel it off the cable and then stick it so it connects the cable to the connector, and it's another safety mechanism to make sure the cable doesn't move out of place. So once that's done, get the other piece of tape for the digitizer as well, and do exactly the same. So that's that double safety mechanism to make sure that all the cables stay in place. Press it down gently. The next stage is to just turn over the LCD gently and put it into the place so the 4 screw holes line up with the holes on the motherboard. So just gently place that down, press it home, make sure it's firmly in place. The next job is to screw the LCD into place. So use the 4 screws you've put to one side and your Phillips screwdriver and just gently screw them into place. I screw them into place in opposite corners just so I can get the LCD into place as evenly as possible, so and no likelihood or less likelihood of damage to it. Just be careful because the LCD is obviously a very valuable piece of kit, and you don't want to damage it, so just take your time and just screw them into place evenly, and be wary of the cable in the left hand corner of the image there. You can see which is the LCD cable, the touchscreen digitizer cable, which you don't want to damage either, because see, that could be easily torn if you're not careful. So once those are into place, just screw it down, give it a quick once over, quick check, and you're done with putting the LCD into place. It's likely that you're going to need to clean your LCD before you put the touch screen back on. So get a lint-free cloth and give it a quick polish off, but be very gentle with it. Make sure there's no dirt or debris on your cloth, and just wipe it off gently. You can even use a bit of isopropyl alcohol to make sure you clean any smudge marks so it looks pristine when you put the LCD on and when it starts again. Alright, getting close to the finish now. We're just going to put the new digitizer or touchscreen back on to the iPad. So gently turn it over and place it back into the slot. Just check the cable on the bottom left hand corner, you're not pinching it, and gently press it home into place. Just take your time over doing this, get it lined up onto the black plastic bezel, and then pick it up and gently squeeze it into place, and you'll hear it snap into place as it sits back into the plastic bezel. So just go around the edges, gently pressing into place, and then if necessary, once you've finished, place some heavy book on it or something like that gently, so you can help the adhesive bond onto the new screen. And that is it for the new screen. The last thing we're going to do is obviously test the new screen, so just press the power button on and watch for the Apple logo to appear, and then when the passcode comes along, just test the screen and make sure it's working. And there you have one iPad 3 with new screen. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.